Dolphins-Titans, it was a tough watch. So last week, Tyreek Hill said the Dolphins were cooking up a crazy game plan to get him involved in the offense. He had 4 catches for 23 yards last night, Colin. Heading into the fourth quarter, Jared Goff had more receiving yards than Tyreek caught the touchdown pass. Tyreek Hill had 6 yards heading into the fourth quarter receiving. He had a blow-up on the sideline that was not pretty. I don't know if you've seen the video. I don't know if we have it here, but he's basically just yelling right behind McDaniel. McDaniel has just stone-faced look like it's your kid melting down.
Well, also, there was a moment in that game. Did you watch it when they did that pass behind the line of scrimmage?
He didn't even try for it.
Tyreek Hill's been playing football since he was probably 7. He didn't know the rules on that? So Tyreek Hill can get upset. That is basic football. Yeah. And I'm like, Tyreek, the ball's on the carpet.
Yeah.
And so Tyreek you can yell and scream, but that play, you're not locked in if you don't know one of the 4 or 5 basic rules.
Yeah. Play the whistle. Very basic. Anyways, Mike McDaniel was asked about Tyreek Hill's sideline explosion. Here's the coach.
I would expect him to be visibly upset at somebody. He's a leader, and he wanted to do everything that he could to make sure the result wasn't that. And so there's, within the locker room, there's a lot of guys challenging each other, and we get an opportunity to see what we're made of for sure.
It is interesting how many teams in the NFL are just dreadful at backup quarterback, and 60 quarterbacks play a year. And, I mean, give Carolina credit. Andy Dalton's a good backup. I mean, some of these teams, it is remarkable to me how bad the backup quarterback situation is.
Look at how bad they've been without Tua.
No, I mean, Tua.
Colin. This is under
the big
Mike
winner
McDaniel.
for Miami last night was Tua. I mean, without Tua,
they're inept. They could. I think they're the worst team in the NFL without Tua. Like, they look. Colin, they went 10 quarters without scoring a touchdown. Like, that's worse than Zach Wilson with the Jets. They don't have a solution here. This is kind of on the front office. All offseason, were we not saying draft Michael Penix, draft a quarterback just because Tua was healthy?
Okay.
So what?
So here we go. So everybody beat up on Atlanta for signing Kirk and having Penix. Penix probably the most talented backup in the league. Look at Miami. You think drafting Penix would have been crazy? You are unwatchable. You're the worst team in the league. For everybody banging on the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to win this division, they're going to end up with 10, 11, or 12. I don't think they're great, but in that division. But Atlanta's like, yeah, we're going to have 2 quarterbacks that can play. 60 quarterbacks are now playing every year. Why aren't more teams doing what Atlanta did? Atlanta got crushed for it, and I'm like, you're telling me a mistake in the NFL is having the best backup quarterback in the league and paying Kirk Cousins a contract. It's not Tua's contract. It's not Mahomes, Allen. It's a big contract. It's not Deshaun's contract.
Yeah.
It's not Russell's contract in Denver. It's in the 100s.
Well, what hurts McDaniel is watching his buddy, LaFleur, bring in Malik Willis in less than a month and play 2 games and win them and look competent. Like, it was a good game plan.
Well,
Miami's had no game plan.
Yeah, but Malik was drafted. Wasn't he a second-round guy or something?
The Titans moved off him because he couldn't play football.
But he does have talent. So
okay.
It's like, folks, it's a quarterback league. You got to have a good understudy. You can't just, I don't care. If you're a big Broadway play, there's got to be an understudy around.
Somebody
gets sick.
We like to be forward-thinking. This Miami team's really, they're devoid of talent. The offensive line is atrocious. No Armstead, they can't block anybody. Why don't you at least gauge the market for a guy like Tyreek Hill? Just see what you can get for him. Can you get 2 first-round picks for him? I don't know. Can you get a 1, a 2, and a 5? I would just at least float it to see what you can get for Tyreek Hill. Because let's be real, Colin.
Oh, no, you could get, first of all, so 2 is your quarterback. And yet, your O-line's bad and you have no backup quarterback. That's on the front office. I mean, you can have a bad secondary and be a track meet team. You can't have no backup and a bad O-line if Tua is your starting quarterback. And that's not a shot on Tua. It's a reality of who he is. Yeah. But like Green Bay, Jordan Love doesn't have a history of getting hurt. They had a capable backup in, and they have good offensive lines.
Look at all their wide receivers. They got a fleet of like 5 guys. I know Tyreek Hill's awesome and he's fast and he's a superstar. He's replaceable, Colin. He is. You can get a bunch of dudes in there, third-round wide receiver to come in and put up really good numbers opposite Waddle. I know Miami's not going to do it, and they love Tyreek Hill, but if you're smart and you're front office, I think you try to move off of him. Look at the numbers, by the way, with Tua in week 1. 12 targets, 7 for $130. The last 3 games combined with a bunch of backups, 10 catches for 87 yards. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Let's go to the final story, and that's the 49ers. They've been down some weapons. Brock Purdy shouldering the load. Kittle returned, which was nice. How about this stat? Brock Purdy has scrambled for 8 first downs this season.
Yeah.
And he's been extending plays more than we've seen in his career.
Yeah.
Purdy talked about his athleticism. It's underrated on the team.
I think my 10-yard split, just to give you guys some perspective, was faster than Christian's and Debo, I think. You guys can fact check me. But that's what I mean. Like, I think I just have enough to get out of the pocket and make a play, pick up 5-7 yards here or there. So I'm not Lamar Jackson's by any means, but anyways, just do what it takes.
No, I think it total fairness, when I watched that Rams game, we saw this with C.J. Stroud in college. We thought he was a pocket quarterback. Then he faced Georgia and Randy, and you went, wow. We saw this with Herbert at Oregon. We thought he was a pocket quarterback. Last game at Oregon, they let him run. You're like, wow. Brock Purdy, when he has Christian McCaffrey behind him, he doesn't have to run. Right, he doesn't have to. But when they're down weapons and he has to engineer some off-script stuff, he's a nice little athlete.
So I know we love C-Mac on this show. Colin, if you've been following some of the stuff.
No, both legs.
I think there's a chance he doesn't play this season. I mean, I don't know if he's definitely out, but it sounds like it's not anytime soon.
It's not good.
Here's my question. If you just keep Mason in for McCaffrey and everyone else is healthy, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, Trent Williams, are the Niners still maybe the best team in the NFC?
They're not as good, but they're really good. Yeah, I mean,
so
Christian.
Who's better than them? If C-Mac is out and Jordan Mason's in, everyone else healthy.
With Philadelphia and Dallas, look like they're falling off a cliff. And Detroit, good, but
that defense
is bad.
So who else is there in the NFC? And I don't think they're in as much trouble without McCaffrey as everybody else does.
I'll tell you this. I was blown away by Seattle last night.
They're good.
And
they're only going to get better with the defensive linemen coming back.
They were missing all 4. I mean, the minute they announced that, Joe Buck said it, I'm like, okay, the game's over.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to. But the offensive clinic, Geno Smith, I know in Seattle they're looking for the trophy guy. I get it. Geno is maybe the best of the guys we don't think can win a Super Bowl. He's near the top of that list of guys we don't think, because he throws. Big guy, big arm. He was throwing heat last night.
And I know we like to talk coordinators on the show. The kid Grubb from Washington.
No.
Called an awesome game. Hook and ladder on 3rd and 16. They converted. I was like, in the middle of the field. Like, I liked Kenneth Walker. Colin, you're right. The Seattle team is dangerous.
They have 2 backs, a tight end, 3 receivers.
Double-digit loss, and they came out, like, I think not smelling like roses, but looking like a legitimate.
If I was a Seahawk fan this morning, I was like, oh, that was a great loss. Yeah. We've seen a couple this year. We're like, that is a great loss. That was one of them. Yeah. J-Mac with the news. Justin Fields would win the locker room, and that Russell Wilson probably had some guarantees on starting, or he wouldn't have come over. And it was going to get messy fast because Justin Fields is bigger, he's more athletic, he's more dynamic, he's got a bigger arm, and I think he's just more relatable as a young guy with a young locker room as the NFL continues to get young. Well, so Russell Wilson has a calf injury, doesn't play. Here is Justin Fields getting you about a touchdown a game, but they were 3-0 and could have been 4-0. So, and again, it doesn't always feel pretty with Justin Fields. He doesn't throw great from the pocket, but here's the thing. 65% completion percentage against Indy, 104 passer rating, threw for 312 yards. Yes, he can have it's not a perfect world. Okay, even the great ones. Andrew Luck came into the league, threw a ton of picks. Peyton Manning threw a ton of picks. If you're sitting around looking for perfect, you're not going to get it from quarterbacks. Even Mahomes every week has a terrible pick. So get over perfect. Justin Fields is young, athletic, dynamic, and if he keeps winning, he's not great from the pocket, always. But Russell Wilson isn't either, but at least with Justin Fields, his athletic ability can cover up some mistakes and get you out of trouble. In Chicago, none of it worked, right? In Pittsburgh, you know they have a good defense. You know they have stability. You know they have a Hall of Fame level coach. Now, Pittsburgh cannot figure out their offensive line. It remains an enigma. It's middle of the pack. It's better than it was 2 years ago. It's still not solved. I tend to think that defensive coaches struggle with O-line.